So today I want to go over how to stay warm during the hunting season when you're in your tree stand. I can't really do anything on my property right now. I'm waiting until like early spring, late winter time to do anything. So this is the content I'm coming up with now. Anyways, back to this. When people talk about staying warm in the wintertime, in the hunting season, they often overlook a very important step, which is moisture wicking, getting the moisture away from your body. When people, this is very overlooked, and when people do this, they get very frustrated because they just spent hundreds of dollars on this fancy insulated jacket or bibs, and they're still wondering why they're so cold. And then they think that they just either they can't take it or their clothing sucks and they just wasted a bunch of money. Well, the solution is actually, it starts much more rudimentary. If you get these steps down, everything else doesn't have to be so expensive later on. Although it helps, you don't have to start that way. Because let's be honest, you're just going to be cold. So the idea that you're just going to be roasty warm in your stand, unless you're just some hardened military dude who's dealt with the Arctic in his t-shirt running around or something, I don't know. You're probably just going to be cold. This is more of how to delay that cold as much as possible, because it's going to happen. But if you can survive 3 or 4 hours in the cold, you're doing pretty good. That's a start at least. So what are the basics? Again, we're going with moisture wicking first, and then I'll go over some stuff on how to actually stay warm later on. So the first thing you're going to do, and this is going to be a little contradictory to what I just said, but bear with me, it's a two-part step one. You're going to want a nice pair of boots and a nice pair of socks. Let's go over the boots first. Get my phone out of here. These boots, I'm not going to bring them close to you, but pretty basic. But something that is not so obvious is that if you read on the side here, it has 12,000. Your feet would be on fire, literally. It has 1,200 grams of insulation, which is a lot. I would not recommend getting anything under the high hundreds at the toe. I would definitely try to aim for in the thousands at the toe, and then from there it tapers off, because they know your shin doesn't need as much insulation as your foot as your toes. It goes from 1,200 down to 400 in the heel. Let's see here. It's 1,200, 800, 400, and then I think it's 400 all the way up. So these are a really nice pair of boots. And the reason why you want to worry about insulation at your toes specifically is because your toes, I think it's pretty easy to imagine, are the first things that's going to go. They have no fat on them. They don't have hardly any blood flow going to them relative to the rest of your body. They're the furthest thing from your heart, and they're out there in the open. You can't tuck them into anything. They're just out there by themselves in the cold. So you want to give them as much insulation as you possibly can. Now, along with that, this insulation doesn't do anything if you don't have a good pair of socks to go with it. Before I get into the socks too much, when you go to pick out your boots, make sure when you find the boot that fits you nice and snug, go up a half size, or maybe even a full size, because one thing you're not considering probably is the thickness of your socks. You should be able to put on 2 or 3 pairs of socks almost before it really starts getting tight in your boots. Now with your socks, what you want are thick, I think the term is like smart wool socks, but you want boot socks or something tall. I do have these. These are actually just regular hiking socks, but they're thick, and that's the key. You want thick, moisture-wicking socks. Now, a lot of pairs will say moisture-wicking on them, but I wouldn't trust them if they're like fluffy almost, like you see the Cabela's kind that they try to sell to you. They're like gray or like static white. I have a few pairs in the back. Be right back. All right. Now these aren't the Cabela's kind. This is actually Carhartt. But as much as I love these socks, they are not moisture wicking at all. So when I'm going just to a barbecue that's outside and it's cold, or a bonfire, or I'm going to be walking around the cold for a little bit, these are perfect. But I would not recommend these for hunting when you're sitting still for hours and hours and hours. Again, you want it's like micro wool or smart wool. Lots of moisture wicking, thick, and again, you want to look for like hiking or boot stock. All right. Oh, and another reason why you want to have a half size bigger on your boots is, yes, let's say you say, well, I'm only going to have one pair of socks, no problem. That's fine. And I only do one pair with these. I don't need to go 3 or 4 extra pair. But the reason why you want a little extra space is, if the way insulation works is you try to have as much fluff or space between you and the cold. It's the reason why puff jackets are so warm. They can be so light. They don't have to be so heavy because they're fluffy. So they have that insulation. There's a lot of science behind that I don't understand, but basically the more fluffier it is, the better. Same thing here. If you're compressing this nice sock all the way up against your boot, it's going to get colder faster. There's no room for heat to build up, and moisture has no place to move around and hopefully seep out. It's kind of hard to hold this sock. So, as moisture wants to come up here, you'll notice when you take off your boot, if you do it right, your ankles and your shins will be soaked because it's all that moisture down here coming up here. So again, you want to I can't stress enough, make sure you have some extra play in your boots. The next thing you want to worry about is a pair of long underwear, or thermals. I like to call them thermals. It sounds less goofy, so it sounds a little bit more tactical. A nice pair, or I should say an effective pair of moisture wicking long johns or thermals. Now these are actually my expensive pair. I just bought these last year. These are kind of my Christmas gift to myself. These are fantastic. However, you don't need, this cost me about $100 together. You don't need that to begin with. You can get away with what I got away with, which are these. They're quite a bit thinner. The reason why these are cheaper than these is because there's really no insulation to these. It's again, we're going back to the term moisture wicking. These did a fantastic job. I think these were $30 for the set. It's separate, so I think it's like $15 for each part of it. So I think it's about 30 to 40 bucks. Anyways, much cheaper. But again, they're non-insulated. But the thing we're worried about is moisture wicking. What this does is it gives a membrane. I know this sounds redundant, but it's super important. It gives a membrane to your entire body, where moisture can play around, can move, hopefully upward and out to your external clothing. Again, just away from your skin. And I can't stress enough, do not buy the cotton ones. The cotton ones, as they say, cotton kills. Essentially, you're just putting on an extra layer of clothing, and that, again, it's redundant. It's not effective. It's just giving more. It's actually doing you worse because all that moisture is just sitting on your skin, and it's like a sponge now instead of rather than a filtration system. So start off with these moisture wicking. All your installation can be done with your coat and your bibs and your hat and your socks and your boots. These you want to make sure it's getting the moisture away from your skin. Oh yeah, another tip about long underwear. Notice these aren't compression. These I don't like. I'm going to recommend not to get the compression, even with the expensive stuff. I found it to be kind of counterintuitive. It's like, how moisture wicking can you get? But also if you're kind of like me, you have kind of a gut, I don't want this compression to suck in my belly like a freaking jelly roll. Just to have it try to climb up my belly and climb off my, climb around on my skin. I don't like that. So I prefer loose fit, more comfortable, cushy stuff rather than the compression. Again, the compression just doesn't feel good. Like, it's going to cut off your waistline. It's not going to feel good. It might even cut off where your legs are. Again, not a pretty sight. The next thing we're going to go with is neckwear and headwear. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a good, preferably a fleece, nice thick neck warmer of some sort. And I'm going to call this the gobbler. I have no idea what this is called, but notice how it has a nice, it comes down. This is the front of it. This is very important to use properly. I'm going to show off my wild hair here. When you go to put this on, most people just kind of put it over the top. You want to make sure you tuck it in to whatever clothing you can, because when you're breathing, you're breathing hot air. You're breathing, I don't know, I'm sure it's, well, I guess obvious it's about 98 degrees. You want all that hot air to go down into your body and warm your body up as much as possible. Now you might be worried about, well, your breath is moist and it's gonna wet your chest. Well, sure, but you should have moisture wicking thermals on, so it shouldn't matter. It should kind of recycle itself out anyway. So make sure you tuck this in. Not only does it keep your breath down into your chest, but it also prevents wind from getting in here. I can't tell you how aggravating it was that I had all this nice clothing on. Put on my hat again. I had all my nice clothing on, and right here, sitting, that wind came and went right down my shirt, and I couldn't do anything about it because even if I buttoned up, it still found its way in, or at least the jacket I was wearing wasn't really good enough to really stop all that. So, highly recommend a nice neck warmer minimum, and then a combination of headwear that is going to cover your ears. This actually does a pretty good job covering your ears most of the time. Sometimes it falls, but this is actually my girlfriend's. I don't like this specific mask just because when you put it on, it's kind of hard. It's like it's on. You can't bring it down. I have a special, I shouldn't say special, another kind of full face mask. It's Carhartt. I'm sure you construction workers out there have it, where it has a couple nice little folds here where you have the option of taking off the skull cap. Anyways, not important. Some combination that covers your head and obviously your head, but your ears. I know these look goofy, but I don't care how goofy I look. These things are nice. These things are so warm. I almost never have to clip it because it's so dang warm. It covers my ears. It covers the back of my head. That's another big thing, is the back of your neck here. But usually my combination of choice is like that. And then I'll have a skull cap. I can't find my skull cap that I usually have, but I'll have a skull cap. It can be cheap. That doesn't have to be that expensive. And then I'll have this on, and then I might even clip this. And this, my guy, is I'm already sweating in this thing. That can keep you warm for so long. Another quick thing about thermals is you want to make sure you have them tucked in. If they're not tucked in, you're kind of breaking that membrane, and there's a chance as you're walking and as you're sitting, it's going to creep up on you, and your back's going to be exposed. And it's going to break that effectiveness of it all working together. I shouldn't act like I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the science of these things, but essentially it's just better. Keeps you warmer, keeps everything consistent. Tuck them in. It's the best effective way. All right, those were the clothing options of the guarantee. If you don't do those things right, you're going to be miserable pretty much no matter what you do, unless you're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on your exterior clothing. And again, that's a big maybe. That's not accounting for wind or moisture. Those are the things that if you follow those steps, everything else can be pretty damn cheap. You can get Realtree, Walmart, hunting clothing. You don't even have to have camo technically. You can go buy the $25, $30 winter coats from Walmart, as long as it's just not blue, or I think white. I think those are the colors that deer can see the best. So you want to stay away from blue and white. And maybe there's some other colors, but after that, after you get these things, everything else is pretty easy to accommodate for. So some other helpful tips outside of clothing that really help to stay warm. Again, these are kind of the basic things to do outside of coats and bibs. Is first, you want to eat a high quality breakfast. Whole wheat, real cheese, high fat, high protein, but make sure it's high quality stuff. It's not, if there's any time to spend money on good food, is hunting season and for breakfast. If your body can't produce, if you think of your body as a furnace, I mean this is a pretty common analogy. You need good fuel, just like a furnace needs good fuel. If you burn pine, for those who don't know, pine is really soft. It doesn't burn very long, and it's not really the hottest. It's not all that effective. You can burn it, and it'll produce heat, but it's not very effective. Versus like hardwood, oak or maple, or if you can get your hands on hickory, or what was the other one? Like walnut. Those are really hard, and they will burn for a long time and very hot. So they're very effective. The same thing goes with food. When you're eating properly, when you eat high fat, your body wants fat. When you're eating high protein, you're eating the right amount of carbs. Your body can use that stuff, and it produces heat in your body, literally. So if you don't have a good breakfast to start off with, you're already putting your body at a disadvantage when it comes to staying warm by itself, without all the nice clothing. Another thing you want to do is bring a hot beverage with you. This is my favorite thermos. I do have one of those huge Stanley ones. I don't like them because they jingle. I don't know where my big thermos is, but they jingle. This is perfect. It fits in my backpack nicely. It opens quietly. I don't even know if you can hear that. Probably heard that. Very quiet, and you don't need a ton. So you're not going to be drinking 64 ounces of coffee in your tree stand. At least I hope not. The reason why you want a warm beverage, along with a high quality breakfast, is it obviously warms up your insides. Just like a hot cup of cocoa after you go sledding when you're a kid. But now you might say, well, I don't want to carry it, I can get warm through other means of the outside. I can't tell you how important it is to warm up your insides. One little antidote, if you will. When I was working in solar, when we were working outside, and this happens several times in the wintertime, I got so cold you can get so cold where no amount of layers can warm you up. And when you're that cold, you're done. You're miserable. You can't do anything. You're probably getting sick, and you want to prevent that stage. I call it absolute cold, or your core is getting cold. I don't know how you want to call it, but for those who don't know what I'm talking about, if you ever experience it, you'll know it. You're just cold. So bring a hot beverage with you. Not only will it warm up your insides, warm you up from the inside. It's nice. It's a nice little commodity. It lifts your spirits up. It gives you something to look forward to, something nice and tasty. It's just a really nice commodity to have. Now you might be worried about, what about the scent? The deer can smell your coffee. Well, I got news for you. If the deer are smelling your coffee, they're already smelling you. So you might as well kick back and enjoy your stay in the woods and have a nice cup of coffee. Now, the last thing I'm going to recommend to staying warm are these hand, toe, and body warmers. Now, if you didn't know, they are different. There's actual specific hand warmers, and specific foot warmers, and you want to make sure you keep those separate and use them properly because the way they're activated are different. The hand warmers need oxygen, and the feet warmers don't. And then I love these body warmers. I get these. I always try to make sure I get these every year because I like to stick them to the inside of my coat, or on my back, or on my little seat cushion. And again, they're just that extra 5% of warmth that they can really take the edge off when everything else is in place. However, I put these things last because they do have their problems. You have to unwrap them, which is annoying, and it's kind of loud. If you're doing it in the middle of the woods, the deer don't like it. Chances are they're hearing you. You gotta stuff them in your gloves, and you gotta accommodate for them. You gotta stuff them in your boots. You gotta take your boot off. You gotta put them in the bottom or on your foot. They're just an extra step to take before you're enjoying your hunt. That again, they're that 5% nice. They're not a problem solver. They're just a nice little luxury item. I think that's all I have to say about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys find this effective and you like it and you find this good advice, please like this video and maybe subscribe if you're willing. Other than that, may all your hunts from here on out be nice and roasty warm.